No, I want an official red carbonation 200 rifle.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
A scene from the Christmas classic, A Christmas Story. 9-year-old Ralphie wants one thing for Christmas, an official Red Ryder BB gun, like the one my boys have, that one right there. Ralphie, well, he got his gun, and despite Santa's warning, he didn't shoot his eye out. Fortunately, Ralphie didn't live in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, or he might have been arrested for playing with his Christmas present. Solomon Friedman joins me now in studio. And Solomon, Bowers brothers arrested in what police call a high-risk takedown in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And they were arrested for having, police say it's a replica of a C8. That's a fully automatic military rifle. It was an airsoft rifle.
Yeah, you know, and I object off the bat to the term replica. It's a very legal, specific term that refers to something that is used only to replicate a firearm. They're absolutely prohibited in Canada. These were not replica firearms within the meaning of the law.
Right off the bat, police are being misleading in their use of language. And given that it's in the Firearms Act, definition of replica, they should know better.
They should absolutely know better, and of course, they sometimes lay charges for the possession of a replica firearm, but these are not replicas. These are either airsoft or toys or pellet guns, whatever you want to call them. They're not, legally speaking, replica firearms.
Okay. We'll get to some clips of Zackary and Morgan Bowers in a moment, but first, are airsoft rifles or BB guns legally considered a firearm? Do you need a license for these?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, it's a, no pun intended, a loaded question. You don't need a license to possess them. That's clear. However, as a matter of fact, their status, being firearms or not, is actually currently the subject of legal debate. I will actually be representing an individual at the Supreme Court of Canada in November to settle that issue once and for all. So it's an issue that's certainly up in the air. But there's no question that you can legally possess them without a license. That is not in debate. Moreover, that you shouldn't be subject to a high-risk takedown for using them appropriately.
All right, let's hear from the Bowers brothers right now. Zackary Bowers talking about what happened to him when he and his brother came home from buying, off of Kijiji, an airsoft rifle in a local mall parking lot.
When I got arrested, I only met one cop, and that was the cop that was at the police station interviewing me. It's the only nice cop that I had.
Does that bother you?
Yeah, and all the other cops, when I was in the van, when we were arrested in front of my house, they were all laughing about it and everything. And it's just really embarrassing that I got arrested right in front of my house, in front of all of my neighbors.
When I parked my car and turned it off, that's when the police officer drove up with flashing lights and everything. He had his gun drawn right away and told me take my hands off the wheel and then turn off the car and all that stuff. I had to get down on my knees, and then I was arrested. They put the cuffs on as tight as they could go, and I was escorted to the police van where I was searched, a little kind of too personally for me, because it really kind of felt like I was violated a little bit.
All right, Solomon, look, I understand police officers in Moncton sensitive about what's going on after the shooting that happened this past summer. But that was a guy going around with multiple firearms on his back, dressed up in camo. He looked like he was troubled. These were 3 individuals, including a young woman, exchanging material in a parking lot in the open. Did police go too far?
Well, you know, it's interesting. We use the word high-risk takedown, and that's a police word, when, to me, really, who created the risk here? There was no risk created by the individuals who are essentially exchanging inert items that are absolutely legal in Canada. The risk is to the public when police officers are brandishing loaded firearms in an effort to arrest people who don't need arresting at all. So if you look at who's creating the risk here, it's undoubtedly the police. Now, we understand police need to be vigilant and on the lookout for any type of activity like this, but more importantly, they have to know the law. And I think here there's a fundamental breakdown.
Well, could they have handled it in a better way? Could they have maybe gone to the home and said, hey, look, with their sidearms on them and said, look, something's going on, we want to check it out?
Sure, and I think that goes to the relationship that police officers have with community members. Is this a, shoot first, ask questions later, execute a high-risk takedown? Or, are these police officers who want to go and make those inquiries and don't want to jump to conclusions? And I think here the balance is absolutely shifted too far to that side.
All right, I want to read a couple of quotes from Sergeant Reed McCombs with Halifax Regional Police, because they're still defending this, they're not apologizing, and they are still threatening legal action against the Bowers brothers. Sergeant Reed McComb said, unfortunately, we're coming across the replicas a little more often just because they can be purchased fairly easily. To see a real C8 rifle would be extremely rare. He went on to say people need to be cautious that the police response is going to be as if it's a real weapon. We're always concerned when we see these types of weapons or replica weapons floating around there. So that's back to calling it something it isn't in a legal term, replica. But let's wrap up on this. The idea that they're saying, we're going to take this airsoft gun, we're going to test it in our lab, and you may still face charges for us goofing up. Thoughts?
Well, it's funny. When I was listening to the Bowers brothers, I was thinking that their last real concern should be the invasive search they faced. In my experience, these people could absolutely be the subject of criminal charges. And remember, even if they win months or years down the road, they've spent legal fees, an enormous amount of time and worry and humiliation. But these are absolutely cases where we see the police lay charges and say, go ahead, sort it out in court. It's your problem.
All right. And then the process becomes the punishment. Solomon, thanks so much.